and for alerting us to what's really going on behind the scenes, which is what we all want to know. So tune in to that social media. So while people are making their way to the microphones, I want to say that we are here to speak up for civility. We are here to show up for humanity. And we are here to stand up for our future. So I want to ask you, are we deranged or are we sane? Are we deranged or are we sane? We are sane. We are the ones who are sane here. I want to invite you to join me in making good trouble. I attended, I love it. I attended the Good Trouble event 1 week ago or 2 weeks ago, and I want to invite you to go find out where you yourself can make good trouble. Are we sane, friends? Yes! Okay, thank you. The red and green cards are an indivisible practice for us to show our support or show our anger. The green is for support, the red is for anger. We are being live streamed here tonight. Say hello, everybody. All right, we are here to share our comments with Representative Crane. So let me start over here. Thank you for joining, and please make your comments to Representative Crane.
Hi, my name is Deborah Fisher. I am a scientist, a university professor, and former director of astronomy at the National Science Foundation. Over the course of my career, I have used research funding from NASA and the NSF to discover hundreds of planets orbiting nearby stars, to train the next generation of scientists, and to build cutting-edge instruments like the Express spectrograph that's at the Lowell Discovery Channel here in telescope here at Flagstaff. I'm speaking out today because Congressman Eli Crane is undermining America's future. When Congressman Crane backed DOGE and supported President Trump's 2026 budget request, he voted to slash the funding for NSF by 60%. He voted to gut the agencies that drive our economy, educate our engineers and scientists, and support medical research. He voted against American innovation, against Arizona's economic future, and against our children's chance to inherit a livable planet. Basic research is not a luxury. It is one of the smartest, most cost-effective investments that we can make. According to multiple economic studies, every federal dollar that's spent returns between $5 and $13 to the U.S. economy. That's how we got MRI machines, GPS, the internet, solar panels, drought-resistant crops, and high-resolution cameras in your phones. This is how we build the industries of tomorrow. Eli Crane supports federal subsidies for oil and gas, even as he worked to dismantle funding for clean energy innovation. In other words, he's using your tax dollars to warm the planet, burn our forests, and threaten Arizona's water supply. He voted for the so-called Big Beautiful Reconciliation Bill, a bill that cuts essential services for families while handing massive tax breaks to billionaires and increasing the national debt. Right now, we are paying more than $2 billion a day on interest on that debt. That's money you can't spend on schools, roads, and the infrastructure that Arizona needs. So, my 3 questions for Representative Crane. I know that I've emailed you several times. Number 1, why are you voting to subsidize fossil fuel industries that are destroying our future while cutting the research and innovation for clean energy that could save it? Amen. Number 2, why did you vote for a budget that would gut the 80-year investment in science that have led to innovation and global leadership of the United States? Agreed. And number 3, how do you justify protecting tax cuts for billionaires and increasing the national debt while working to undermine the scientific infrastructure that we need to grow this economy?
I'd like to talk about. So despite President Trump's boasts, after 1,200 days plus of Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine, it did not stop within 24 hours of his inauguration. Putin has strung Trump along as Russia continues its barbaric invasion. This spring, just in April, Ukrainian authorities have received at least 19,546 confirmed reports of unlawful deportations and forced transfers of Ukrainian children to Russia, Belarus, or Russian-occupied Ukraine, to the end of erasing the Ukrainian nation and identity. Just after the war started, in June 6, 2022, Russian authorities announced that children born in the occupied Ukrainian territories after the start of the war were deemed to be Russian citizens. This is a violation of the Fourth Geneva Convention. There are credible eyewitness horror stories of infants being ripped from their mothers' arms in maternity hospitals in the occupied territories by Russian soldiers. Clearly, sufficient legal documentation is not available to tally these infants. The total number of kidnapped children is most likely far greater than 20,000. In addition to being stripped of their identities, isolated, subject to barrages of propaganda, and told their families had abandoned them, these stolen children are subject to significantly increased risks of being exposed to human trafficking, exploitation, child labor, sexual violence, hunger, injury, trauma, deprivation of education, and shelter, and death. On March 17th of 2023, Vladimir Putin and Maria Lvova-Belova, who is the Children's Rights Commissioner for the President of Russia, were charged by the International Criminal Court of unlawful deportation and transfer of Ukrainian children during the Russian invasion. These war crimes meet the legal definition of genocide. On March 19, 2024, just last year, this genocide's been acknowledged by the 118th U.S. Congress in the form of bipartisan resolutions. That's Resolution 149 and Senate Resolution 158. And this is condemning the illegal abduction and forcible transfer of children from Ukraine to the Russian Federation. So, Congressman Crane, I don't agree with you with many things, but on behalf of Ukrainian Americans in Arizona Congressional District 2, I thank you for supporting this House resolution. Now, Ukraine desires peace, not surrender, not cultural, linguistic, and national obliteration, but a durable, lasting, just peace. Returning these children must be a non-negotiable part of the peace process. So, to that end, on June 30th of this year, Representative Michael McCall, a Texas Republican, introduced another House Resolution 564, calling for the return of abducted Ukrainian children before finalizing any peace agreement to end the war against Ukraine. So, Congressman Crane, as a father of two daughters, will you support House Resolution 654? Thank you.
Thank you, Oksana. As a reminder, we gave people 5 minutes to speak. We wanted people to actually have time to make their points on these important topics. Over here.
Good evening, Representative Eli Crane. Cheryl Nagle-Padgett here. I met you in your office when I was there lobbying for secure rural schools. And I've also written you a letter and Donald Trump and every other Congress member a letter. So today, what I'd like to say is, I'm standing before you today as the elected superintendent of Coconino County. I'm not sure you know where we're at, but we're up here north, and we're 18,000 square miles and have nearly 20,000 students that are in rural, remote, and tribal communities. These children represent the future of Coconino County and our nation, and they deserve the same chance to learn, grow, and thrive as any other child in America. So I'm going to start with impact data. Did you realize that in the continuing resolution last spring, that it was only reauthorized till September 30th of 2025, and everybody's recessed. So is anything going to happen that very first day Or is Coconino County going to be out $22 million? This program, Impact Aid, offsets the loss of property tax revenue from federally owned non-taxable lands like tribal, national parks, and military installations. Without Impact Aid, our schools face losing, as I stated before, $22.9 million every year. That's not abstract budget numbers. That's teachers, reading specialists, bus routes, after-school programs for our children. Yet Impact Aid, as I stated, expires September 30th, and it has not been reauthorized. The uncertainty doesn't just affect spreadsheets. It affects our children. It puts our programs on hold, hiring freezes, you name it, we're in trouble. To the city, $13 million. Page Unified School District, $8 million and change. Flagstaff Unified, $834,000. The Coconino County Accommodation District, $275,000. Fredonia Moccasin, $108,000. And I'm missing one. So I'm asking you, make sure that happens day one when you guys come back. We've seen delays when the Department of Education froze title funds and other entitlement funds this year, which we did the day they were supposed to hit the bank at our schools, which allowed you to postpone plans for tutoring, after-school programs, and scrambling for contingency plans for staffing. Although most funds were reinstated 30 days later, just last Friday, the damage was done. Families and educators were left in limbo. We thank the Department for fixing the issue, but let me be clear, this can never happen again. And then there's secure rural schools. It has not been reauthorized for over 9 months and has expired. The Secure Rural Schools program, first established by President Roosevelt, has long provided essential support for counties like ours, where large areas of federal land limit the local tax base. In Coconino County, these funds amount to $2.3 million annually and are used to strengthen school safety, support literacy efforts, grant broadband access, repair or replace outdated infrastructure, maintain school bus fleets, and sustain services to level the playing field. The message is clear. When Washington delays, it's not politicians who pay, it's children. It's the future workforce, the future leaders. I invite you to visit Coconino County to see firsthand the resilience of our students and educators.
Thank you. Thank you for continuing on behalf of all of our children. Yes.
Hi, Eli Crane. My name is Amy Girl. I've been in Flagstaff for over 48 years, and I've written and called you numerous times, never get you on the phone. My story today is that when my uncle died, my aunt continued to work and tried to build their fledgling textile business. It was unsuccessful. Medicaid saved her life when, as a non-smoker, she was diagnosed with lung cancer. She was about 60 years old then. She went on to a productive life, working in a law office in her mid-90s. Why would you vote to make cuts to this critical program? You also voted to defund Planned Parenthood, thus eliminating critical cancer screenings for many women. I want you to work for legislation that guarantees health care to all of your constituents. And I know as our representative, you have excellent health insurance. Some would consider that benefit as social welfare or even socialism. Regardless, my question to you is, why shouldn't all your constituents get the same health care that you have?
What would you like to say to Representative Crane?
All right, my name is Marguerite Hendry. Mr. Crane, on May 7th, 2025, you sat in a House meant to be about government efficiency, and use taxpayer dollars to talk about transgender women in fencing. Fencing, a sport that draws around 40,000 participants nationwide. That's 0.01% of the U.S. population. And you and your colleagues spent over 3 hours grilling the chairman of USA Fencing, a private organization, not a federal agency. The absurdity of this should not be lost on anyone. Is this your idea of efficient governance? But I'm not here to talk about government efficiency. See, I have a 14-year-old daughter. And in that hearing, you claimed loudly and repeatedly that your mission was to protect young girls. You scolded Mr. Layfeld, saying, "You and other men have failed to protect young girls, and it is pathetic." You said that twice. It is pathetic. But you refuse to hear the facts. The facts that fencing often includes intergender competition. The young woman who testified that she was harmed by having to combat against a transgender woman, actually of her own volition, had competed against men in a co-ed competition before. You weren't interested in truth, you were interested in outrage. And then you said, evil triumphs when good men and women do nothing. So I'm asking, why have you done nothing to protect my daughter from actual predators? Did you know that on average in the U.S. there are over 460,000 victims of rape and sexual assault each year? 1 out of 6 women in our country have been the victim of attempted or completed rape in her lifetime. Why have you stood by a man accused of sexual assault by more than 24 women? A man who admitted from walking into a teen pageant dressing room while girls as young as 15 were undressing. Why have you supported efforts to bury Epstein's files detailing abuse of over 1,000 young girls? Why do you believe Donald Trump's denials over the voices of survivors? And if Trump pardons Ghislaine Maxwell, named by these brave women, not just as a recruiter, but also as an abuser herself, will you claim to be protecting girls? Tell me, Mr. Crane, does your protection stop at the fencing feast? Is abuse acceptable if the abuser is rich and powerful? Because I can tell you, I would let my daughter face a transgender woman 1,000,000 times before I leave her alone in a room with Trump, Epstein, or Maxwell. To stop hiding behind culture wars and discriminatory MAGA talking points and start confronting the real threat facing our daughters.
I'm Phil Stevenson. I have no credentials except that I'm a mother and a grandmother. And Representative Crane, I'm asking you to stand up and speak out against the Trump administration for the sake of our planet. The encouragement by the Trump regime for continued fossil fuel drilling, fracking, and overusing is devastating to the environment we all live in. Opening up public lands for indiscriminate logging is destroying major sources of CO2 retention. Decimating habitat in critical areas, such as the Arctic, will send even more species towards extinction. Removing restrictions on manufacturing and promoting harmful contaminants, such as mercury, lead, soot, herbicides, and pesticides, will lead to more extreme health problems and deaths. Taking away support for clean energy and the other positive climate action in the IRA passed in the Biden administration is setting back our climate progress indefinitely. We are in a human-caused climate crisis. We do not have time to wait. All life on Earth is being negatively affected. Our children and grandchildren and all other species will suffer the consequences. Representative Crane, you took a vow to help make life better for your constituents. Do what is right. speak up and stand up to the Trump administration for the sake of all life on Earth.
What would you like to say to Representative Crane?
Hello, my name is Alicia Vaughn, and I'm a geologist working on the Perseverance rover mission that has been busy collecting the first samples of Mars over the last few years. To be a scientist in this country today is at the least not valued and at worst viewed with hostility. I love my job, and every time I visit a Flagstaff classroom or give a public talk at the Festival of Science, I'm reminded how much others love it too. The work we do is inspiring and exciting. I recently received a stop work order because of disruption in my funding, even though this is money in the current budget that has already been approved by Congress. And because so many federal employees have already been fired, there are less staff to sort through these type of problems when they arise. So, I'm forced now to use my earned paid time off while I wait for the government to sort this out. And if it's not resolved before I use all my PTO, I will be without a paycheck. Is that efficient or fair? No. I'm the leader of a team that depends on me, and they're struggling in my absence. My husband's also a geologist, and the last few months have been the most challenging of our lives together as we worry every day about keeping our jobs while we're raising 2 kids here in Flagstaff. We're sending our oldest to college in just a few weeks, so the stop work order is coming at the same time as our first college bills are due. It's very stressful. Many government scientists are lucky. They have degrees in subjects they're passionate about, they enjoy their jobs, and they get to settle in great places like Flagstaff to build their lives and pay their taxes, right? We work in national parks and forests. We provide access and programs to wild and beautiful spaces. These people give your kids their junior ranger badges, mitigate forest fires, and visit classrooms to share their expertise. And the problems I face because of this administration are the same that face many in our community, some who have already lost their jobs. Representative Crane should consider his many constituents who are federal employees here who have been treated with open hostility by this administration. Russell Vogt, the guy behind Project 2025 and the current head of the Office of Management and Budget, actually said in a 2023 speech, quote, "We want bureaucrats to be traumatically affected. When they wake up in the morning, we want them to not go to work because they are increasingly viewed as the villains," end quote. Is that how we treat our hardworking citizens? Well, I want to tell you I don't feel like a villain. Public interest, I know, is on my side, and I feel that every time I go to a classroom or give a talk. But Representative Crane, these are your constituents that he's talking about, and you should be fighting for them. I'll add that young people are paying attention. They see scientists losing jobs, positions, their projects being canceled, and they're thinking twice about what they should study in college. The brain drain is a real and tragic side effect of this administration's policies. And if we don't lead the way investing in science, know that other countries will. And they will rise to take our place. NASA's work is something Americans are proud of, and our leadership in space science and exploration is a significant source of soft power. Scientific funding supports college students that are just starting out in their fields. It's very simple. Without funding, we can't recruit students, and there's no future workforce. So I'm here today to remind you of all that scientists contribute to our local community and society at large. And I ask that you fight against the continued agency cuts that are affecting our friends and neighbors and the quality of life here in Flagstaff, and to fight for strong NASA funding. The future is at stake.
Oh, do you see why I'm here tonight? Do you see this? This is why I'm here tonight. Thank you.
Val Bryant, voter and constituent, Congressional District 2. Mr. Crane, a question. Do you think there is any reason to stop emitting greenhouse gases? And if so, what is it? But they're not here. So please acknowledge and answer this question in your One in the Chamber newsletter. For myself, the answer is yes. There is a reason to stop emitting greenhouse gases. They are killing the earth and all its inhabitants in innumerable ways. This pollution needs to be stopped. Now, one way that you could help to support is to support legislation in the House for a tariff on foreign pollution, also known as border carbon tariffs. Through hard work and innovation, the United States is one of the cleanest and least polluting countries in manufacturing. President Trump even noted other countries have, quote, created filthy pollution havens, unquote. According to Public Opinion Strategies, a survey, 94% of Republican voters agree that foreign countries with more pollution should pay a fee when their products enter the United States. These exports should not have a free ride in the United States. Now, the Foreign Pollution Fee Act, Senate Bill 1325, is an example of a policy that codifies the significant carbon advantage we hold over other countries like China and Russia. Tariffs that acknowledge America's carbon advantage would, one, strengthen American industry, and two, lower global carbon pollution. A strong foreign pollution tariff framework should be limited to high polluting sectors where the United States carbon advantage is the greatest, and calculating emissions is simpler, thereby lowering administrative and compliance costs for governments and companies. A strong foreign pollution tariff framework should be intensity-based, only charging for emissions which are significantly above the amount to produce a similar product in the United States. This would create a strong incentive to lower carbon pollution. And a strong foreign pollution tariff framework would allow for climate clause, where countries with comparable manufacturing efficiency or compensating climate policies do not have to pay. The U.S. is already a leader when it comes to clean manufacturing. Well-designed border tariff measures will leverage that advantage. Your seat on the House Committee of Homeland Security and your acknowledged interest in national security should lead you to know that a healthy America is needed for healthy home and national security. Mr. Crane, please support this legislation when it comes into the House. Thank you for standing up for Greenhouse gases.
Thank you, guys. Wow, these are smart people. What would you like to share with Representative Crane?
Hi, my name is Alec Bergman. Some people know me as Ace. I am a Coconino County employee, so a fellow public servant like you, Representative Crane. However, I actually serve the public here in Coconino County, unlike you. Growing up, I had several medical emergencies that put my family in a lot of healthcare debt throughout my childhood. And growing up, my parents constantly had to make the decision to give me the medical treatment and services that I needed, or to pay the electric bill or put dinner on the table. And recently, Representative Crane, you voted in favor for the One Big Beautiful Act, a vote that was critical for the bill's passage. This bill, however, is not beautiful for me, my friends, family, or for any constituents in northern Arizona. With your vote, you have aided in thousands of constituents losing essential services and resources in the 2nd Congressional District of Arizona. A third of constituents in the 2nd Congressional District relied on Medicaid for health insurance, totaling in 275,500 individuals in this district. Of these individuals, 25,900 are seniors and 93,300 are children. And because of your votes, the bipartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates that more than 40,000 of your constituents will lose their health insurance and now have to make the decision that my parents did of having to seek medical services or to pay bills and put dinner on the food and put food on the dinner table. And that's even if they can reach medical services. For now, because of your vote, 3 rural hospitals in this district, one in Clove, one in Winslow, and one in Page, are at threat of being closed. If these hospitals were to close, thousands of residents in this district would have to drive of over 2 hours to the nearest emergency room. More than 900,000 Arizonians receive critical SNAP benefits. Now, nearly 500,000 Arizonians, because of your vote, could lose their benefits. and over 35,000 children are at risk of losing free school lunches. Representative Crane, I ask you, are you proud of your vote? Are you proud of stripping thousands of your constituents of health care? Are you proud of letting children in your district go hungry? Are you proud of the deaths that will occur when these hospitals close? Are you proud of selling out your constituents in order to fatten the pockets of your wealthy donors with tax cuts? This bill is the definition of ugly, for it steals from the poor to give to the rich. With the slim majority in the House, every vote is crucial, and you know that. It's time you actually do something for Northern Arizona and all of your constituents in the 2nd District. What you can do, Congressman Crane, to address me and my fellow constituents here in the 2nd Congressional District is to actually show up and listen to us for once. Had you done this, you would know that the 2nd Congressional District here in the state of Arizona, which is the best district and most beautiful district and has the greatest people ever, do not support this bill. The 2nd District did not support this bill at all. My advice to you is that perhaps you should actually start to live in the district you represent in order to truly understand us.
Thank you. I just want to say, if there's anyone else in the room who's under the age of 40, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. What would you like to share with Representative Crane?
Hello, Representative Crane. My name is Megan Quinn, and here's my story. My welcome greeting to Flagstaff was the billowing smoke of the pipeline fire. I had moved to Flagstaff to attend graduate school to study biology. After one of my first fieldwork excursions, we returned to Flagstaff only to be stopped by flooded roads. I kept this image in my head as I studied Wildfire for my thesis project. I wanted to play a part in protecting my local community, the people, businesses, recreation opportunities, beautiful scenery, and the ecosystem we all depended on to survive. I soon realized that this was not a job for one person. I joined a team of scientists to create and put on a program for NAU students to find their own identity in science and acquire research experience. I was inspired from the ideas and skills each student brought, from expressing fire ecology through comics to their desire to learn about surveying post-fire vegetation. The funding for that program was cut this year. I believe the Flagstaff community has lost an opportunity of gifting people with knowledge to protect their community. After I graduated last December, I struggled to find a job. Due to the Trump administration's policies and funding cuts, the jobs I had applied to were suddenly put on hold or canceled. At the same time, I watched my friends in graduate school losing their funding to do research. When I finally did get a job, when I started, I was devastated to see my coworkers' exhaustion from being stretched thin from lack of staff. It's been a hot and dry summer, and as we have all seen throughout Arizona, large, high-intensity wildfires are becoming more common and devastating our communities. If we lose funding for science, we lose safety in our community. I believe that this is a national security issue, and I am calling on Representative Eli Crane to step up and protect his district by restoring funding for conservation science programs and jobs. Thank you.
Okay, folks, just a few more questions. I know it's hot in here. This is what democracy looks like. Thank you.
Representative Craig, my name is Michelle Murphy. Along with my service brother Asco, we are constituents of yours, and I am appalled at your lack of concern for all of us. I am on Social Security disability, thank you ageism, Medicare, health insurance, and SNAP. You have voted to cut 3 of the 4. Do you want to see more people homeless?
That is what will happen with these cuts. I have to go to the food bank twice a week just to be able to eat. And that is being cut too. Do you want to have fewer constituents? I have signed a recall petition for you, and I sincerely hope you get voted out of office. You have displayed a callousness towards your fellow humans, your constituents, the people who got you where you are now. That tells a lot about your character, and not in a good way. Resign now, so we don't have to waste tax money on a recall. Thank you.
Thank you. What would you like to share with Representative Crane?
Hi, I'm Shannon Wells. I've lived in Flagstaff for 34 years, and I've been a nurse at our rural regional hospital, Flagstaff Medical Center, for 26 years. Representative Crane, I attended your virtual town hall last week and heard your response to a constituent concerned about cuts to Medicaid. You said there are a lot of men in their mother's basements playing video games, not working and collecting Medicaid, and that those folks are the ones you voted to remove coverage from. I'm here to tell you, that's not what I'm seeing as a nurse. I'm the infectious disease nurse navigator at Flagstaff Medical Center, and one doesn't get on my list because they have a disease like Hep C, valley fever, or HIV. They get on my list because they're struggling, and most are dependent on Medicaid, which is access in Arizona. Thank you, President. And they use those sources to live. So while there may be a minority of folks choosing not to work and accepting Medicaid, the vast majority of my patients and others in my department are either working, going to school, and/or caring for families, or too ill right now to work. The bill you helped pass does not screen who's sitting in the basement, nor why. How do you expect people to work, care for families and themselves, and thrive without the basic human right of health care, including mental health care? And regarding my patients in your district with HIV, how can they survive cuts in Medicaid that include life-saving medications and support, like assistance to appointments, and to pay someone like me to be a nurse navigator for them? HIV is now a manageable disease with a long life expectancy if you take your meds, get labs drawn, and attend your appointments, all of which require insurance or being independently wealthy. Without this support, these patients, my patients, Representative Crane, your constituents, will die.
Thank you. We have just one or two more questions. I just want to say that events like this don't happen without people stepping up to lead and volunteering and showing up. All these volunteers, I didn't know them. They came through Indivisible. I can't wait to really have long conversations with people, but I really want to ask you what you're seeing here tonight, what we're sharing here, being live streamed by my daughter right now. This is what democracy looks like. Yep. So, yes, so if you see an event coming up, please raise your own hand, show up, speak up, and volunteer. Okay, my friend Halen, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good evening, Congressman Crane. My name is Haley Creighton. I am the Northern Regional Director for the Arizona Students Association. We are a statewide, nonpartisan nonprofit that works to advocate for student issues and empower the student voice in politics and organizing. My branch includes students at NAU and CCC, both of which are in your district, and I am here to talk about what you have done for my students. You voted yes on the so-called Big Beautiful Bill Act, which means that you cut 4 of the student loan repayment options, including the SAVE plan, which over 7 million students rely on for fair and timely loan repayment, lowered the lifetime student loan borrowing limit for graduate students by over $38,000,
changed the student aid index and limited Pell Grant eligibility by excluding students who receive other aid that is deemed too high, slashed access to programs like SNAP and Medicaid for millions, something that, yes, even students rely on, and so much more. Students are suffering in this country, in this state, and in your district. Slashes like the ones found in this bill and others hurt low and middle income students the most. Students who are first generation or have disabilities or maybe even parents. As the cost of tuition continues to rise with no help from the federal or state government, more and more students will find themselves in extreme amounts of debt or abandoning their pursuit of a degree altogether and facing an unforgiving job market. That is not a future that I want to accept. There are a lot of other things that you've done for students at AZU too. As our representative, you have attacked and devalued the Department of Education and the future of higher ed, made immigrant students feel unsafe and unwelcome in our institutions, ignored and repealed environmental protection, something that students in this beautiful city care deeply about, supported legislation to gut funding to healthcare for trans and gender non-conforming individuals, a community that myself and many of my students belong to, failed spectacularly at meeting with student groups like ASA, or even being here in your own district at an event like the one today. Shame on you, Representative Crane. We are your constituents. We are the people you swore to represent, and so far, your representation has meant nothing but abandoning those who need your help the most in order to further your own self-interest and partisan agenda. Stop hiding from us and do your damn job. Thank you.
That's Haley. She tells it like it is. Yes, what would you like to share with Representative Crane?
Hi, my name is Karina Kelmer. I'm a professor at NAU, but I wanted to talk about something that we haven't talked about. I wish that Eli Crane was here to look at me in the eye and tell me that immigrants don't matter, because my parents were immigrants to this country, both of them. And I'm wondering why you voted for such an increase in ICE funding to put people in concentration camps. My parents came to this country in the 1960s, legally. My mother had a green card until the day she died. She was a resident of Mexico and a resident of the United States. I'm wondering, Eli, would you have rounded her up if she was still living today? My father got naturalized in 1975. He was from Germany. So America is a country of immigrants, and we give back to our country. Abolish ICE.
Thank you. I'm going to take the chairman's prerogative to say the last word. Representative Crane, we do not want masked terrorists in our community. It is not acceptable for them to be masked and racing after people without cause, people they do not know if they're citizens or not. We will not accept this in our community. We would like you to come here and assure us that this will not happen in our community here. Thank you. All right, friends, I'm going to bring Susan Shapiro back to close this evening. I want to thank each and every one of you. This is what democracy looks like.
Again, thank you, Susan, for stepping up to chair this event. We get a lot of things done at Indivisible, but we only have so much bandwidth, and as Susan said, it depends on volunteers. I want to thank our distinguished speakers, President Nez and Representative Ansari. And I really, really want to thank those of you who stepped up to the microphone to challenge Eli Crane and ask your questions of him. I really appreciate it. I just want you to know that anybody who submitted a story, whether you came to the microphone or not, those stories are all collected and will be delivered to Eli Crane and to any Democratic elected representatives who want them. So I just want to, of course, if anybody who knows me, I have a call to action. So here's what I want to say tonight. There is actual term for the tactic that we used here tonight, and it's called using your constituent power. As constituents, we contacted or we spoke out to our elected representative to express our opinion or to make a specific request. And then we also tonight exercised that power collectively. Instead of one person speaking out, we elevated the voices of many people, even if it's people sitting in the crowd who clapped or raised a red or green card. And that tactic is called holding your elected representative accountable. We're holding Eli Crane accountable today. We invited press here today so that we could raise public awareness of Crane's failure to face us and of how his support for the Trump regime harms us. That's another tactic. And of course, we will use our electoral power in 2026 to vote the maggots out of office. So yes, we're going to continue to use these tactics, but the reality is, with a united Republican Congress, with Senate Democrats failing to form a united front against the budget reconciliation, with businesses, universities, and law firms capitulating to Trump, these tactics are not enough. All of this has made it easier for Trump to consolidate power and has brought us closer to an authoritarian government. Trump is moving fast, and we honestly can't wait until the midterms to take action. So we've done a couple of other events, maybe some of you came. We had a May Day Strong protest, and we had a Good Trouble Lives On teach-in that offered a perspective of other times in our history where people came together and successfully fought back. Unions used collective bargaining to gain better working conditions, things like 40-hour work week, overtime pay, and other benefits that we still benefit from to this day. The Civil Rights Movement resulted in the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which dismantled Jim Crow and ensured equal access to public facilities, education, and voting rights for African Americans. So these movements, the reason we held these kind of events is these movements inform where we need to go next. We must, number one, expand the number of people involved in opposition to the Trump regime. We have to get more people involved consistently. And then all of us, including the more people, have to refuse to capitulate, refuse to comply. We need to learn how to engage in a new tactic called strategic noncompliance. So what do I mean by that? What might that look like? Maybe if you're an alumni, you can pressure your university with other alumni to refuse to adjust their curriculum at the whims of the president. Maybe your place of worship could declare themselves a sanctuary church or a synagogue or whatever to protect and shelter immigrants. Maybe we could get a local business to refuse to cooperate with ICE, and if not, maybe we could cut their profits and damage their reputation, similar to what was done with the Tesla takedown. I don't know which of these things are going to happen. Some of it is going to be part of a national campaign, but some of it we have to figure out what to do in our own community. So we're all going to need to learn these new tactics and then get together and figure it out. So it's new for all of us, it's new for me. Well, we have a way to learn. Indivisible has launched a training to get 1 million people trained on how to do this. And everyone got a card today that looks kind of like that. It has the QR code, so you can get caught up on session 1 that already took place and sign up for the next 2 sessions. Session 2 is tomorrow. Again, just sign up, even if you can't make it tomorrow. They're recorded. You can review them afterwards. Scholars like Erica Chenoweth have done the research, so we know if enough people consistently fight back, we can stop authoritarianism from taking root and do it. So, my call to action tonight is I urge you to join the 1 Million Rising campaign. We have another Indivisible community gathering. It's going to be very relaxed and social on August 7th, and we're going to talk about this. We're going to recap the Big Trouble event. So you caught up on that before August 7th. Let's fight back now. Let's win in 2026. Thank you all again for coming tonight.